Hello, and welcome to the fourth episode of the Learn Anything from Anything series. Today, we're going to be talking about patterns. How to identify them, how to basically rank and deal with them, and figure out, what do we do with these? Now that we know they're here, they're things we do anyway, how can we make them more productive to our lives? So, first thing, identifying patterns. A pattern, for the purposes of this, is anything that you do consistently or ends up happening consistently that is in some way involved with you, or actions that you take, or actions other people take. So, that is a pattern. Like going to the beach every year, that's a pattern. Going and flying a kite with your friends once a week is a pattern. Stuff like that. So figuring out how do we leverage those patterns to a little bit more of our benefit when we're trying to learn something. And there's a couple ways to do that. First, you have to identify, and we've gone over this, what makes a pattern productive, which is episode 2, I believe. And then going over what do we do with patterns that are unproductive, and how do we sort of prioritize different patterns and get rid of them. So, as an example, studying for school. There should be a pattern set in place for you to study for school. Whether that be every day at 5 o'clock, I stop whatever I'm doing because I don't have classes at the time and study chemistry. And so on, like divvying up your time essentially. Creating that pattern to do that. The way I always do it is I cut my day into 30-minute sections. There's a time to wake up. Every 30 minutes from there, there's something set aside to do. Eating is 30 minutes. Showering is 30 minutes, which is kind of long, but, at the same time, it's a 30-minute block. Studying every subject is a 30-minute section. So chemistry, 30 minutes, then go to physics for 30 minutes, then go to social sciences for 30 minutes, then go back to chemistry for 30 minutes. You want to be constantly rotating things in and out so that you don't get brain fatigue on one subject. And then basically structure your patterns around that. When you have something that interrupts that, that's when we start having issues, because what you're going to want to do is make sure that your time is your own, and if you start using it in ways that gum up the works, then it's going to be harder to recover that time later, especially if you have a pattern that gums up that work. So you don't have to break down everything into 30-minute sections and not combine them. You can take two 30-minute sections, shove them together. Now you have an hour segment. But always divide it into that 30-minute segment first, and then recombine them as you see fit. So if you have a party on the weekends that goes for like 4 hours or whatever, you just make sure that you have that block of time set aside so that you know you don't have it later. But 30-minute sections is the go-to for just divvying everything up, and then you can recombine from there. Now, when you have a pattern that doesn't go away, it's something that is invasive to your scheduling and just sort of gums up the works of what you want to get done, we need to address that as well. So, to address that, I'm going to put a lot more information in the next video, but the brief overview is whenever you find something that you're doing is not effective and you need to stop doing it, but it's hard to stop doing it, essentially what you should do is put a little split in the track, because your brain works on like rails essentially. As soon as the train gets started, it just chugs along until it gets to the end of the track. That's how habits happen. So what we need to do is we need to put a little split in that track so that when the rail starts, it gets diverted off to something productive. So if, for example, you watch TV for too long, or go on YouTube for too long, so on and so forth. Essentially, whenever you think, oh, I should watch some YouTube, oh, I'm going to watch something, you want to put a little split and go, have I done X? Have I done Y? I need to do this before I do that. So you're setting yourself a reward system, but you're also setting yourself a stop. So that way, the habit doesn't trigger until the correct time for it to happen, when you have recreational time set aside, which you should set aside in your 30-minute divvying, is time to take a break from things and come back to it. But yeah, that's the brief overview. We'll go a little more in depth in the next episode. But yeah, other than that, thank you very much for watching, and I will see you in the next episode.